You ever have one of those days? You get to the end, you're just completely wiped out, but you can't point to one single thing that went wrong. There was no big crisis, no major fire to put out. Well, that feeling, that constant low-grade exhaustion, that's not a personal failure. It's not about your endurance. It's a symptom of an invisible system that's running in the background. So today, we're not talking about stress management. We're going to dissect stress physics.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at this unseen load. Then, we'll map out the universal fragmentation, see where it shows up. After that, we dive into the physics of friction, how it actually works. Then, the slow erosion, the real cost. We'll look at how to read the signals, and finally, we'll wrap up with your own internal audit.
All right, let's get right into it. Our whole conversation about stress is frankly built on a kind of flawed idea. We're always trained to look for the big, obvious stressors, the huge deadline, the public speaking event. But the real damage, the thing that grinds down our ability to think clearly, that actually happens in the tiny little moments in between.
This right here, this is the key. This is our whole thesis for today. It hints that the most dangerous kind of pressure isn't the one we're actively fighting. No, it's the one we don't even notice, the one we don't even label as stress. There's this invisible machine at work just quietly racking up cognitive debt behind the scenes.
Okay, so if this invisible load is so common, where does it actually show up? The answer is pretty much everywhere in any kind of modern, high-stakes job. And I really want to land this point. This is not a personal weakness. It's a structural pattern of how we work now.
So let's just look at a few different worlds. On the surface, they have absolutely nothing in common. But if you look closer, underneath it all, they are built on the exact same architecture of pressure. There's a single thread that connects all of them. So what is it?
Think about it, an ER nurse deciding who to treat first, a software developer drowning in Slack notifications and build alerts, a parent juggling school pickups, dentist appointments, and their own deadlines. They are all fundamentally operating inside the exact same system. It has zero to do with the kind of work they're doing and everything to do with the rhythm of the interruptions they face.
And boom, here it is. This is the simple, almost mathematical formula that explains everything. The real breaking point isn't how hard a task is. It's when the number of new things coming at you is higher than the number of things you can resolve and get off your plate. That feeling of always being behind, it's not just a feeling, it's a mathematical reality. You're in a state of constant cognitive overdraft.
All right, now for the really interesting part, the mechanics. How does this system actually mess with our brains on a neurological level? And again, this isn't about feelings. This is pure physics. The physics of how our attention works. And there are really three key forces that create all this friction.
We're going to look at these three things. First, cognitive friction, which is really the hidden price of switching tasks. Second, notification fragmentation, the cost of being constantly pinged. And third, baseline drift, which is the price we pay for never, ever feeling like we're truly done.
Every single time you switch, from writing a report to checking an email to answering a quick Slack message, your brain pays a little tax. It's a real thing. Psychologists call it attention residue. Basically, a little piece of your brain's focus gets left behind on the task you just abandoned. Now, one or two of those isn't a big deal, but 100 of them in a day, that creates a massive invisible drag on your mental engine, as all these little unfinished thoughts fight for your attention.
Now, this part is pretty wild. Even when you ignore a notification, your brain doesn't. On a subconscious level, it has to do a tiny little calculation. Is this important? Is it a threat? Do I need to act now, or can I ignore it? Each one of those pings, even the ones you tune out, fires off a tiny little burst from your fight-or-flight system. And the cumulative effect is that your brain stays stuck in this low-grade, permanent state of alert.
And this is the final piece of the puzzle. Our nervous systems are built for a cycle. Think of it like a sprint. You go hard, you hit the finish line, and then you recover. But what happens when there is no finish line? When you never get that all-clear signal, your brain never gets the message that it's safe to power down. Your stress baseline just slowly, imperceptibly drifts higher and higher. And that, my friends, is the silent backdoor path to total burnout.
So this really puts it all into perspective, right? On one hand, you have episodic stress, the big presentation, the tough negotiation. We're actually pretty good at handling that. We see it coming, we brace for it, and then we recover afterwards. But this distributed load, it's totally different. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's invisible, it's relentless, and the most critical part is it has no recovery period built in.
So now that we get the mechanics, let's talk about the real-world consequences. What is the actual cost when we misread these signals, when we mistake the systemic pressure for a personal failure to keep up? Well, the cost usually isn't some big, dramatic flameout. It's much quieter than that. It's a slow, steady erosion of your clarity, of your decision-making quality, and ultimately, your performance. And this tends to show up in a few classic archetypes, especially among the most capable people you know.
First, you've got the high performer. This is the most reliable person on the team, right? They take on every request, they answer every ping, they never complain. On the outside, they look like a model of efficiency, but on the inside, their cognitive and emotional batteries are being systematically drained to zero, and nobody sees it coming, often not even them.
Then there's the leader. Their mental bandwidth just gets so clogged with all this fragmentation that their ability to think strategically, to think long-term, just evaporates. They stop leading and they start reacting. They go from playing chess to just playing whack-a-mole, lurching from one tiny fire to the next. Their decision quality doesn't just dip, it completely flips upside down.
And this last one, this might be the most insidious of all. It's the smart, driven professional who feels this deep, bone-deep exhaustion and completely misdiagnoses it. They tell themselves, I'm just not being disciplined enough, or I just need to try harder. They mistake the signals of a system completely overloaded for a personal lack of grit. And so what do? They double down on the exact behaviors that are causing the problem in the first place.
So let's be absolutely clear. We have to reframe this whole thing. This is not a problem of willpower or weakness. This is an operational problem. It's an engineering problem. The demands of the modern work environment have become fundamentally misaligned with the design of the human brain. Period.
Okay, so if the answer isn't just try harder, then what is it? How do the people who are psychologically resilient manage this constant load? Well, the difference isn't in what they do. It's not about some new productivity app or a 5-step morning routine. The difference is in how they think. They're just operating from a completely different mental model of the problem itself.
And this just lays out the shift perfectly. The common response is all about treating the symptoms, right? Manage your time better, get your inbox to zero, take a break. But the resilient frame goes deeper. It addresses the root cause. So instead of managing time, they manage decision frequency. Instead of chasing inbox zero, they look for ways to create real closure signals. And they don't just take a break. They fiercely, ruthlessly protect windows of time for deep, uninterrupted thinking.
And finally, let's bring all of this home. We've looked at the system, we've looked at the cost, we've looked at a more resilient way of thinking about it. Now it's time to make this personal. I'm going to leave you with 3 simple but quietly confronting questions.
What specifically is the thing that interrupts you the most? Get specific. Name the app, name the person, name the meeting. Second, of all those interruptions, what's the one that repeats every single day? Find the pattern. And third, and this is the big one, looking at that repeating pattern, what is one single thing you could ruthlessly automate, delegate, or just completely remove from your life? Because the answer here isn't more effort, it's less friction.